Luxury brands don't lose because they're not loud enough. They lose because they forget how to make people feel something. We spoke to Shelley Pratt of INFINITI about why restraint, confidence, and emotion are now the real competitive edge in modern luxury marketing.
It's middle on the road, right? And you have to make sure that you're connecting with the brand, and just showing a car on the road, it's not going to do it. And in fact, we've seen it not perform well. It actually performs the worst when it's just a car and there's no story.
Welcome to the DesignRush Podcast, where we break down the shifts shaping modern marketing, brand strategy, and leadership. I'm your host, Kia Johnson. Today, I'm joined by Shelley Pratt, marketing and communications lead at INFINITI. Shelley has had a front row seat to some major changes, not just in automotive, but in how brands think about desire, modern luxury, and confidence in a crowded, noisy market. Shelley breaks down what modern luxury really means today, how emotion consistently outperforms features, and why internal belief is often the first signal that a brand shift is actually working. If you're a brand leader, marketer, or CMO navigating change, make sure you're subscribed. We bring you weekly conversations with leaders shaping the future of marketing and brand strategy. Hi, Shelley. Welcome to the DesignRush Podcast. It's really nice to have you here. You and I have been looking forward to this conversation. You are leading marketing and communications at INFINITI. You've had a front row seat to some big shifts. I mean, not just in the category, but also in how brands think about desire and luxury right now. For me, I have to say, what I find interesting is that a lot of automotive marketing, it can get very loud very quickly, but INFINITI's recent work actually feels a bit more considered. So what I would love to do is actually start at the ground level, because when you're building something like this, the people you work with actually matter a lot. So when you're choosing an agency partner and working with them day to day, what actually makes that relationship work well for you?
I've been a part of quite a few agency pitches in my career, and fortunately, I was part of the one that chose our agency of record, Publicis, for INFINITI. And what really stood out from them was not only their past work, it's their emotional connection to the consumers, their work is breakthrough, but also the chemistry. So when you meet people, you know that they're going to roll up their sleeves, they're going to dig in, they're going to try and solve the problems with you. And I think that probably is the most important part when you're going through a pitch. It is that chemistry session to understand they're going to be partners in what you need. They're going to be like-minded, adaptable, and really willing to solve problems and to take feedback. I think that's probably one of the hardest things for a creative agency, right? They're artists. It's their work. It's their passion. And you have to be able to give them feedback to get to what you need, and do so in a way that doesn't hurt the relationship. It helps get what you need and foster collaboration.
Well, you're talking about that chemistry, and emotion sells all the time. But when you're actually launching a car, what does a real emotional pull look like in practice?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do. It's a car. It's a supercomputer. It's middle on the road, right? And you have to make sure that you're connecting with the brand, and just showing a car on the road, it's not going to do it. And in fact, we've seen it not perform well. It actually performs the worst when it's just a car and there's no story and there's no human elements. It's a big purchase, and you want to feel confident that you're purchasing a brand that fits into your life and it connects with you. So if you see any of our ads, it's human. Humans are at the center of it. How does this car deliver on their life, and how can it help them? We have human emotions. We have kids. We have parents. In our recent commercial, you have parents, a little competitive spirit of trying to get to their destination first and having fun with it. There's music. Music is so important to our brand. Every time you hear one of our commercials, you're going to stop, you're going to listen, and you're going to start to understand, okay, that's INFINITI. They always have impactful music. And then even working with the right people. So Erin Andrews, we worked with her. She's so relatable. She's so human. She's fun. She's a mom. She's an entrepreneur. She was perfect for our QX60. We've worked with her a few times in the past because she is authentic. People trust her. She understands our brand. She loves our brand. She drives it. And she shares how it fits into her life. And I think that makes it feel really authentic.
You're talking a lot about, that sort of human touch and feel, but I know a lot of brands actually still lean on volume and flash to actually signal power. But I have to say that with the Q60 Sport and the QX80 Sport, I mean, you went in a more confident, restrained direction. So what gave you that confidence that this is definitely the approach that would resonate more?
Well, one was learnings from the past of, as I said, not just a car on the road. There is this family story, and it's a relatable family story. Our cars are also beautifully designed. This is the first ever sport model we've had for either the QX60 and the QX80. They're unique. They make you stop. They make you look. The grille is dark. The wheels are dark. It's fun to drive, especially when you're purchasing a car like a 3-row crossover SUV. Usually you buy it because you have to. You have people, you have pets, you have things that you have to move, but we want to make sure you're moving in a car that looks really good and it's going to stand out when you're driving it. And it's not only beautiful on the outside, but on the inside too. If you've seen inside of it, it has a very unique blue interior. And I think it just personally reflects a personality, right? You want to be a little different than everybody else. And you don't want to feel the same as every other car on the road.
You're speaking a lot to, the interior and the exterior of the models right now. And I mean, modern luxury itself, it gets talked about a lot, but it can mean very different things. So for you personally, what is the moment where something genuinely feels premium and it's not just marketed that way, would you say?
I would say it's how it makes you feel. Are you proud to own it? Do you feel like it looks good? Do you feel like it stands out? And does it fit your life and enhance your life? I'll give you an example. I drive the QX80 Autograph. It's beautiful. It's stunning. It has a huge stature, but at night it has the emblem that lights up. It's illuminated. And I was with my extended family in Florida on a vacation. I had them all packed in the car. Every seat was filled. We were pulling up from the valet. And a woman in front of me got out of her car and walked over. She saw the emblem lit up in her rearview mirror, and she said, "What is this car?" And I started telling her about it. I didn't initially tell her I worked for the company. I did later, because I was, really proud. She was looking at it. She looked inside, and she said, "Okay, I want to buy one. I need to find my nearest retailer." And so, I got in the car. My whole family was so excited, which they're already proud of me anyway. But to have a complete stranger stop you because they saw the emblem in the rearview mirror, it was just a moment where I felt proud, and that's what modern luxury really meant to me. I think there's some other points in there where, it enhances your life. One of my favorite features on it, it actually lowers. I'm not super tall, and so lowers when you park the car, and so it makes it really easy to get in and out of this, somewhat large vehicle. So it's little touches like that I feel is modern luxury. It's thinking of these things that I necessarily wouldn't have thought of before. And I'm sure other people probably feel that way too, because it could be daunting.
It could be. As a fellow short person, I definitely resonate and understand and empathize with that. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Shelley, I'd love to find out from you. When you started shifting the brand, was there an early moment, even a small one, where you thought, okay, this is starting to land. This is it?
Yes. So aside from metrics, because I'm actually a very data-driven marketer, it's business intelligence was one of my favorite jobs I've had in marketing, digging into the data, the why. But we started an organic social campaign called Switch Up, and it was really about getting customers to understand why INFINITI. We're kind of this little engine that could, and not everybody knew about us. So what areas do we win versus our competitors? And it started with just organic, having fun. But then the creative agency really had fun with it. Started pushing the boundaries. My team started having a really good time with it. Of, okay, we could do this and we could say this. And for example, this, raising the car up and down, all of our competitors couldn't do it. So we're like, let's find a fun way to share that. And it went from a simple organic post to a full campaign. We bought a billboard in Vegas for a retailer meeting. And when the hotel curtains opened, it was right there in everybody's windows. And it got the dealers really excited. It got my team excited, the agency excited. And I feel like it did this because we kind of got our mojo back. Like, it was our moment of, let's own this. Let's do it. Let's be unapologetic. And it was really fun. And it's going to shape next year's strategy as well. It ended up being our best performing conquesting campaign ever. And so, initially we just bought media where, trying to get on people's shopping list. And now we're going to push it to more awareness of why not Infiniti. So it's actually been really fun. And again, it was a social post that went kind of crazy.
No. I have to say, there's a real sense of quiet confidence in Infiniti's recent work. So what I would love to do is actually dig a little bit deeper right now and find out what's happening behind the scenes. Are there habits or ways of working that has actually helped bring all of this to life?
Yeah, and I would say we have gotten our confidence back. We started last year, there was a narrative about Infiniti and not a ton of positive press around it. Is the brand going to be around? Is it going to be here? And that can really permeate through the organization. It can affect your confidence. It can affect, is this brand someone that I want to be a part of? And we took a step back with the agencies, with the team, and all of us were like, there's no stopping us. We created an internal mantra to gain confidence in the brand. We changed my vision of the whole team. It's how to gain back the confidence from consumers, from the retailers internally, and to create and maintain momentum. And that's how we started the year. And at this mantra, we decided this is our love letter to Infiniti. We're going to post it on social media. And it got us all going of okay, we are this little smaller brand. We can punch above our weight. We can do things the bigger brands can't do. And it really flipped the switch. And I'll tell you, being the underdog it can be fun, but I saw a post and I saved it. Someone wrote on our Facebook, Instagram channels, I see you rebuilding this brand brick by brick. And I was like, that was the moment. That was the moment we got our confidence back, right? And I took a screen grab of it. I sent it to all the directors and our EP, and I'm like, all right, they can see us doing this. And I think it's changed us. We feel confident. We're taking different risks and steps. And, we don't have to be braggadocious about it, but it's really helped us internally, both with our retailer network and with our teams.
So we were chatting a bit earlier about the intangible things. You're talking about those intangible metrics. So I want to find out from you a little bit more about desire itself. And when you're trying to actually measure something, as intangible as that, what signals do you personally pay the most attention to?
I think that's a great question because marketers, we have so much data that comes to us, and trying to evaluate the different types of tactics that we do and how we measure those. But desire it can be difficult to measure. It's a bit intangible, but it's, really looking at the marketing and consumer behavior. It requires us to look at maybe some more indirect signals like social conversation. We do measure social sentiment to see if there's a change in the brand. As I said, the comment about brick by brick, that was huge for us. But I think also social sharing. So we just created some concept vehicles, Track Spec, where it's very bold. It's a very fast vehicle. It's kind of the future product. And when I shared it on some of my own personal channels, I would see all these other people resharing it, or on LinkedIn, people started talking about it. And my friends, families, people started reaching out. They're like, okay, put me on the list. And I was like, okay, I want to be on that list too. And we just did this. We have a partnership in that. We're based in Nashville, Tennessee. And there's it's a company called BMI. It really works with songwriters. And we decided to take the concept car vehicles there, just to build this vision of the future for us. I have gotten so many people in the industry asking me, when's this car coming? I want this car. Some country music singers. To me, that's the intangibles of okay, are we making these small impacts that then when it gets here can feel bigger? And it's organic interest in the car where, I wasn't out there pushing it. It was actually just sitting there by the red carpet and, getting people excited about it.
Well, many brands actually feel pressure to get louder just to stay visible. So how do you actually keep your team focused then on resonance, not just reach?
It can be hard. I feel the pressures internally as well. And as a marketer, we're the largest investment bankers for a company with our budgets and things like that. We always have to stay focused on our vision. So when I started out the year, it was all about building confidence in the brand by clearly delivering our brand story and create and sustain momentum. And everything goes back to that. If it doesn't ladder up to that, we shouldn't be doing it. And then there's 3 words that we use to keep everybody grounded in the company. It's confident in how we operate, thoughtful in how we treat people, because I think that really does set your brand apart from everybody else, and then unapologetic in who we are. As I said, I feel like we kind of lost that mojo, that momentum, and we have it back, and let's own it. Let's be out there and hear who we are. We don't, again, have to be the loudest people in the room, but how can we do it in a way that's authentic to us?
Would you say there ever was a decision or a move that didn't seem massive at the time, but it ended up having a big impact on how the brand feels today?
I would say that no stopping us mantra, we didn't start as what it became. It really was just, okay, how do I keep my team engaged? How do we keep people excited in the brand? And then once we posted that mantra on LinkedIn and we saw people reacting to it and people wanting to be a part of it, we're like, okay, this is it. Let's grow this bigger. And it's actually feeding into, well, not everything that we've done this year, but as we're working on a new launch for next year, it's feeding into that as well, which I can't talk about it just yet, but in March, April timeframe, you'll be able to see how that will really continue to come to life. And there hasn't been any stopping us. And even in moments where you feel like, okay, are we gaining the ground that we need to gain? You go back to that and say, yes, we are. Let's keep focused. Let's keep moving forward. And I think it's really helped all of us.
That's fantastic. So if another CMO came to you and asked how to rebuild brand energy without chasing every trend, what advice would you give them?
This is very applicable right now, especially in our world with AI. So I think you always have to go back and stay true to your vision and your objectives that you set out to achieve. Marketers, it's easy for us. Like, you can't chase every shiny ball because there's a lot of those, right? But you have to stay grounded. A lot of those, especially now. But you really have to stay grounded and focused. An example right now, it's AI influencers. My brand is all about human daring forward and making these human connections, and that's a core value for us. And so, right now, it's not the right moment for us to do an AI influencer. I obviously want to see how the tech evolves, but I don't want to impact the trust we have with our consumers. There may be an opportunity in the future, but, right now, I need to keep evaluating pros and cons. And I think it's good for us to say it's okay to wait. It's okay to not jump on the things the second they come out. It's fun. You can do that, but I've seen some brands in the US that jumped on the AI influencer and it really negatively impacted them. There's some fashion brands that I'm sure they were trying something new, and you should do that as a marketer. But I really do think it impacted them, and maybe some unrealistic expectations of luxury and fashions and things like that. So I'm still in the evaluation mode with that one. And if we do end up going forward with anything like that, I want to be very transparent. I want people to know an AI influencer and, not just trying to cut some corners, but that's still a wait and see. And I think that's okay because we want to react quickly to trends and technology. And sometimes you just need to take a beat.
Very true. Very true. I want to take us to some news that's been happening of late. Business Insider just dropped a piece titled "The U.S. Auto Industry is Bracing for an EV Winter." So it covers everything from the collapse in EV demand to brands like Ford that are doubling down on so-called passion products. It feels actually like the whole category is being forced to get more emotional and more precise. So what is your read on this specific moment?
Luckily for us, we've always been really emotional with our consumers. I think we need to focus on what consumers want. Not everybody wanted an EV. Luckily for INFINITI, we actually offer one right now. But we need to make products that people want. So, whatever drivetrain they want and what that might look like in the future, we need to make sure that we're understanding those trends and focusing on that. Unfortunately for us right now, we are focusing on what's new in our lineup. Those are the first ever sport models. They're exciting. We created a new campaign and really doing things well with what we have. And so, it is hard. It's a dynamic, shifting environment, and automotive sometimes can't move as fast as other brands. And we're big supercomputers, so it takes a minute. Trying to understand the future and having the diverse lineup, I think, will help people with that. And right now, focus on your brand. It's a great time to pivot and change if the model desire changes.
I actually like what you're saying there right now, because I was just going to say that, with the slowdown in EV demand, do you think that brands actually need to rethink the kinds of stories that they're telling right now? And you're kind of touching on that. Is there anything extra that you'd like to add to that?
Stay invested. So you have to keep the momentum going. Right now is a great opportunity to sustain excitement, not to take the foot off the gas in your investments. It's a moment to take a step back and maybe highlight your brand instead of just different model specifics, and welcome people into what your brand stands for. So it could be a really interesting moment for marketers to help shift and pivot what their brand and companies are focusing on and doing.
What would you say then, to this, when buyer confidence is actually shaky across the market? How does INFINITI then stay keeping that emotional connection with its audience?
So you do have to keep the investment going. It could be easy for you to say, all right now things have slowed down. November was a slower month for the automotive industry, but you got to keep the momentum going, because advertisers don't just advertise for today. They advertise for tomorrow, for next week, next month, next year. So it's really hard because we have longer lead times when it comes to buying an expensive vehicle. So we're actually seeing tremendous growth in marketing right now. We've had our highest qualified visits to our websites ever. And in fact, INFINITI's had some year-over-year sales increases. So it's, we're really focused on the core models. We're really focused on what we do well. And you have to keep doing that. And you gotta stay the course, which can be hard to do sometimes when things are changing and shifting and pivoting.
Definitely. Would you say then that that's a bit of like the ways in which you keep building long-term desire?
Yeah, marketers have to do both. You have to build the long-term desire while also leaning into the short term. And I think you have to take a step back and you set your long strategy, you lean into your strategy, but you have to be able to react and pivot and move. And my mantra for the team is always be optimizing. There's some things that we try that they do really well, and there's some things that you try that maybe don't, and that's okay. You have to learn, but you have to be able to pivot and move quickly. If you're seeing some of the data signals saying this might not be working, and then change and shift and pivot, but always making sure you're laddering up to your SMART goals. And that could be different goals for different tactics. So not being afraid to fight for what's right for your brand and what the campaign was set out to do, because sometimes that's hard to do. Sometimes you have to build awareness. Sometimes you have to sell a car right now. And there has to be a place for both.
I want us to move our focus also to another bit of news that's happening currently. Cox Automotive just released its November forecast. It's U.S. new vehicle sales down nearly 8% year over year. And between the higher prices and your soft EV demand, it's obviously a very tough market. So when that volume slows down, does that actually make emotion and brand equity even more critical, would you say?
Owning what you're really good at and sticking to it. So things with us, our hospitality, we have thoughtful hospitality. Our retail experience is second in the industry, so we treat people really well. So after my team has created all of this demand and excitement, they are also treated very well when they get to the retailer, and I think that's so important. And then not only that, when you own an INFINITI, what makes us different? We have a free maintenance program with our vehicles that are purchased. We have a service valet that'll come and pick up your car for you and service it and bring it back. That's huge. That's available. And then one of my favorite things is we have an INFINITI expert where you can call them and they can walk you through all the tech features on your car. I actually needed this when I got my QX80. It was so advanced, and I got in there and I was like, I don't know what all these buttons do. So the phone with me, and they'd walked me through it. They were patient with me and answered all these questions. So I think when the industry is slow, you have to remind people why it's great to own an INFINITI. And you've got to stay the course with that. So, once the demand does come back, it's easy for them to make the decision.
Shelley, what would you say a quiet confidence really looks like when the market is noisy and the demand is softer?
I think it's focusing on doing fewer things really well. I'll give you an example with our commercials. We make 3 commercials a year, and they're very good. We focus on breaking through. We focus on delivering emotional connection, landing on the right music, not making a lot of commercials, which could be easy for us to do, right? We can keep pumping it out. But okay, let's focus on these 3 and let's make sure they are awesome. And that's a great moment to take a step back and not try to do everything, just do a few things really, really well.
Do you think that restraint becomes even more powerful when the market tightens?
Yes, because you could do some short-term things that could hurt the brand in the long term. So, people can feel desperation. I always say, don't lose your story. Focus on who you are. You got to create and maintain those relationships and not just try to do things to get attention. It's going back to who you are as a brand and focusing on your core values, because you can do it when things feel tough. You feel the pressure internally, you feel it externally, and you want to make short-term decisions, but don't. Really go back to who you are and what you're trying to achieve for the year.
Advertising Week New York, CMOs from brands like PepsiCo, Kraft Heinz, and Molson Coors talked about staying culturally sharp, without losing depth. I mean, INFINITI has been evolving for a new luxury buyer without chasing every trend. So it's kind of touching on that restraint question in that what's your approach to actually balancing the relevance with restraint?
So sometimes you got to go with your gut. That's kind of hard to do. So marketers, it's about head and heart, and you have to do both of those things really well to be a marketer. You can't just lean in on data. You can't just lean in on what your gut says. Otherwise, you're probably not going to achieve. But I think some of these signals you do have to go with your gut instincts. So I see things on social media. I'm a consumer, and if I see it, I was like, that's not landing with me, then it probably won't be my customers either. And unfortunately, I know my customers very well. And so there's moments where you have to say and be really strong in your POV, we're not going to do that. The easier ones are, stay away from politics, be very polarizing. AI, tread lightly. But then there's some fun things that I think you can lean into. When Wicked came out, we have a green car. And so we're like, how can we play around with that? I mean, we're not official sponsors of Wicked or anything, but how can we play with that and still be culturally relevant? Or Taylor Swift releases new albums. What are some fun things that we can do that shows that we are understanding of the cultural moments and want to be a part of it, but we want to do it in the right way for our customers?
How would you say you keep a heritage brand fresh then without losing its core?
Fortunately for us, we're not held back by legacy. When you talk about other brands, some people could say they're old luxury or, they're stodgy. We're not held back by this legacy because not everybody knows who INFINITI is. So we can actually play a lot. We can build our own heritage and brand legacy. And I feel like that's what we're doing right now. It gives us so much room to move and manipulate.
When everyone is trying to be, in culture, how do you avoid crossing into performative marketing?
It's got to be that value conflict, right? If it doesn't align with those 3 words, the human, daring, or forward, then you shouldn't do it. And I think staying strong to that and us being the brand stewards for the whole organization, we have to make sure if it doesn't align with us, that we're able to push back in the right places and feel confident that you should own your brand and be the stewards of the brand. If it's not going to work, you have to stand up for it and sometimes listen to that voice inside of your head that's guiding you. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right.
Shelley, I thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure and wishing you all the best with INFINITI's future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Curious about what top brands look for with choosing an agency? Tune into our latest episodes where we reveal the decision-making secrets of leading brands. Subscribe to the DesignRush Podcast and stay ahead of the competition.